Hi everyone, this is Robin and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level course about classroom language. First we're going to be talking about school rules. Okay, so what are some rules that your school has? What are some rules that you follow in the classroom? Or if you're not in school, you might think of this in terms of your children's school. So one common rule in some schools is that the students um, should not have access to their cell phones during class. Another is in this school, it looks like the children wear uniforms. And so just think about some reasons. Why do you think it's important to have rules? So now we're going to look at these classroom rules and trying to match them with the correct picture. So be on time for class. That goes with picture B. Be prepared with all the necessary materials. That would be picture D. Listen carefully, picture A. And complete all assignments on time, picture C. Now, giving orders. We use the imperative verb tense to give orders. And so you'll notice that we don't use a subject pronoun with such as he, she, you, or it, etc. with an imperative. So these are some examples. Open your books to page 28. Raise your hand. Put your cell phone away. Look at me when I'm talking to you. So you have to be careful using the imperative because depending on the tone of voice and the context, it can seem unfriendly. So you just want to be careful when and how you use the imperative. All right, so these are some teacher demands, and see if you can complete each teacher demand with one of the verbs below, and they have the note here that put is used 2 times. So go ahead and try this on your own, write down your answers, and then restart the video when you're ready to check. Okay, so number 1, get into groups of 3. Pay attention. Settle down, please. Raise your hand before speaking. Put down your pens. Be quiet, please. Take notes. And put your cell phone away. All right, so now look at each of these images and what do you think the teacher is saying? So just think about, look at these pictures and just kind of think about, just take a guess as to what the teacher might be saying. Well, in this first one, it looks like maybe she's asking someone to either answer her question or she might be listening to a question from the student. Oh, also, though, it looks like this girl is whispering to the boy next to her, so she might be telling them to pay attention, to be quiet. In this one, the teacher looks kind of angry. Looks like she might be asking the student to leave her class. Here, it looks like the teacher maybe is pointing out that the student is late. And here, the teacher is observing them looking at something on their phones. All right, so now we have a list of expectations that a teacher might hang on the wall. So again, you're going to use these verbs to fill in the gaps for the classroom expectations. And we have one definition here. Dismiss is a verb, means to order or allow someone to leave. So again, go ahead, pause the video, fill in your answers, and then restart when you're ready to check. Okay, so number 1, respect yourself, the teacher, and others. Use appropriate language. wear appropriate clothing, always do your best, be prepared for class each day, turn off cell phones and electronic devices during class, follow directions when given, pay attention, participate and ask questions, listen to what the teacher says and follow directions carefully, remain in your seat until the teacher dismisses you. All right, and then consequences. A consequence is a result of an action. So in school, when you disobey a rule, there is a consequence. So we want to match the action with the consequence. But first, we have a couple of definitions that we'll go over. So plagiarize is a verb. It means to take the work or idea of someone else and act like it is your own. And cut class, this is a verb plus a noun or a phrasal verb, uh, which means to skip or miss a class without a reason. All right, so if you plagiarize your assignment, probably I will give you a 0. If I see or hear you on your cell phone, I will take it away and give it to an administrator. If I see you cheating on a test, you will earn a 0 and will not be able to redo the work. So if you talk when the teacher is talking, what do you think the consequence for that might be? And if you cut class, what would be the consequence? So think about that and complete those sentences with your own ideas. All right, so now we're going to talk about the first conditional. We use the first conditional to talk about a situation and a result in the future. So if you cheat on a test, you will receive a 0. So it's an if statement and a then statement. So the if is the action, and then the second part of the conditional is the consequence or the result. So if you are late to class one time, you won't get in trouble. If you are late to class 2 times, you will get a warning. But if you are late to class 3 times, you will get detention. And here the definition of detention is a punishment in which a student must stay after school for a certain amount of time. So which tense is used in the if clause? If you are late to class, well, this is simple present. And which tense is used in the result clause? You won't get in trouble, you will get a warning, you will get a detention. Those are future tense. All right, so we'll look at the structure of the first conditional. The if clause, as we said, is if plus the present simple, and the result clause is will or won't, the future. So if you use your cell phone in class, I will take it away. So now go ahead and try these on your own using the correct form of the verbs that are given in both the if clause and the result clause. And it's important to note that the if clause doesn't always have to come first. Sometimes the result clause will come first, followed by the if clause. So just pay attention to that and make sure that you get the right verb tenses. So you can pause the video, try that on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, so if you disrespect the teacher or another student in class, you will get detention. Here, you will get sent to the principal's office if you talk and do not pay attention during class. So this is one of the examples where the if clause came second. If you steal or destroy another person's property, you will need to go to the principal's office. The teacher will call your parents if you cause a problem. So again, here's one where the if clause came second. If I see or hear your cell phone, I will take it away and give it to an administrator. All right, now you want to match the vocabulary words to the definitions. Again, try these on your own, write down your answers, and then restart when you're ready to check. So a statement that tells you what is allowed or not allowed, well, that would be a rule. Something that is said or written to tell people about something bad that might happen. Say a warning. The result of an action is a consequence. The act of allowing someone to do something is permission. Schoolwork that is done in the classroom is classwork. A piece of paper or other item that allows a student to be outside of the classroom while the class is in session, that is a hall pass. And here's a picture, an example of a hall pass. And a space or passage inside of a building which leads to different rooms, that is a hallway. All right, so getting in trouble. What does it mean to get in trouble? So complete each example of actions that can get students in trouble with a word below, and you might need to change the verb tense. So again, pause the video, try that on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, so John and Brian decided to cut class because there was a substitute teacher, and as a result, they received detention. Sarah plagiarized her essay from the internet. Her teacher noticed this and gave her a 0. Thomas tried to cheat on his exam, but his teacher saw what he was doing. Kelly was tardy. Tardy is another word for late. Kelly was tardy because she was hanging out with her friends in the hallway. And Rowan tried to pass a note to Natalia during class, but the teacher saw it and took it away. All right, now we're going to talk about the 0 conditional. We use the 0 conditional to describe an event and a result that is always true or that happens often. So if you are late to class, you need to sign your name in the late book. So the same result happens each time the event occurs. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. If you are absent, it is your responsibility to get the classwork that you missed. If you are confused, ask a question. If you have a question, raise your hand. And then absent, the definition of absent is to not be in class. If you're not in class, you're absent. So with the 0 conditional, the verb tenses are a little bit different. We have the present tense in the if clause, just like before in the first conditional. But in the result clause, instead of using the future, you would use either the present tense or the imperative. So that's the difference between the first conditional and the zero conditional. All right, so we're going to read the teacher's rule and then answer the questions. You can either pause the video, read on your own, or you can follow along as I read. Pay attention and participate in the lesson. If you have a question, ask it. Otherwise, I might not know until the test that you did not understand something. There are no dumb questions, and if you are wondering about it, it is likely that someone else in the class is too. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you feel most comfortable waiting until after class, that is okay too, but keep communication open between us. So, how does the teacher feel about questions? Well, she says there are no dumb questions and don't be afraid to ask. So, this teacher welcomes questions. And why does she think this is important? Well, if you don't ask the question, she says she might not know until the test that you didn't understand something. And how can asking a question help the other students? Well, if you are wondering about it, maybe someone else in the class is too. And what should a student do if he or she doesn't want to ask a question during class? They can wait till after class. All right, and now, can you find any imperatives in her statement? Well, pay attention and participate. That's an imperative. Um, don't be afraid to ask. That's an imperative in the negative. And keep communication open between us is an imperative. Now it asks if we can find some conditionals. Well, here, if you have a question, and this is another imperative here, ask it. Okay, so this would be the zero conditional because you have an if clause followed by the imperative. Here, if you are wondering about it, it is likely that someone else in the class is too. That is a conditional, zero conditional. And then if you feel more comfortable waiting until after class, that is okay, but keep communication open. So that's another if clause followed by an imperative, so a zero conditional. All right, so are these people following the rules? What is happening in each photo? And what rule are the students following or not following? Well, in this first one, they are not following the rule about not using their cell phones during class. This student is not following the rule about cheating. He's copying from the other person's paper. These children, though, look like they are following the rules. They're raising their hands before they speak. And here, these students appear to be following the rules. They are sitting at their desks, taking notes, paying attention. But these two students are not following the rules because they are passing a note while the teacher's back is turned. All right, so now decide on a consequence for not following each classroom rule. So here's an example. Turn your work in on time. If you don't turn your work in on time, you will lose 10 points per day. And here are some possible consequences to give you some ideas. So go ahead and try these on your own. There are really no right or wrong, but just try to make sure that the consequence sort of fits the rule that is broken. All right, and now you can pretend that a new student has just arrived at your school, and so you can explain the rules and the expectations, so these things that you wrote here the classroom rules and the consequences, you can practice writing a dialogue to explain that to a new student in the class. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, and if you have any questions, leave those for me in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.